Somewhere, right now, someone is telling a story. A monster, a flood, a lost city, a curse. And somewhere, a scientist is staring at evidence that says it actually happened. For thousands of years, we call these stories myths, fairy tales, bedtime nonsense, ancient people making things up. But what if they weren't making anything up at all? What if they were describing something real, something they didn't have the words for? Today, we're counting down 10 legendary myths. Stick around for number 1, because it might change how you see gods, monsters, and history forever. Myth number 10, the lost city of Troy. A war fought over a stolen queen. A giant wooden horse smuggled through city walls. For centuries, historians called it fiction. A beautiful poem, nothing more. Then, a businessman with no formal training took the story literally. He followed the poem like a treasure map, and he started digging in northwestern Turkey. What he found stunned the world. Massive stone walls, weapons, an entire city burned to the ground, exactly where the myth said it would be. Troy was real. Myth number 9, the curse of the pharaoh's tomb. Stories claimed anyone who disturbed an ancient pharaoh's grave would die. In 1922, a team finally found King Tutankhamen's tomb, untouched for over 3,000 years. Weeks later, the expedition's funder suddenly died. Newspapers exploded with panic. The curse was real, they said. Scientists eventually found a chilling detail. Sealed tombs can trap deadly mold and bacteria for centuries, some fatal if inhaled. Not a curse from beyond the grave, but a very real, very ancient biological trap. Myth number 8, Vikings reaching a new world. Norse sagas told stories of warriors sailing to a mysterious land. Centuries before Columbus, historians assumed it was legend. Exaggerated stories told around a fire. Then archaeologists found something in Newfoundland, Canada. Wooden structures, iron nails, a Viking settlement, nearly 500 years before Columbus ever set sail. The sagas weren't myths. They were sailing directions. Myth number 7, a monster hidden in a maze. Ancient Greeks told of a half-man, half-bull beast, trapped inside an impossible labyrinth, devouring anyone who entered. For centuries, purely symbolic. Then archaeologists excavated a massive palace on the island of Crete. Thousands of interconnected rooms, confusing corridors that twist without warning, easy to get lost in, frescoes showing bull worship rituals. There was no monster, but there was a real maze, and a real culture obsessed with bulls. Myth number 6, a flood that destroyed the world. Nearly every ancient culture has one, a god angry at humanity, a flood that wipes out almost everyone. For centuries treated as pure religious symbolism, but geologists studying the Black Sea found something disturbing. Evidence of a massive, sudden flood, thousands of years ago. Water rushing in with the force of 200 Niagara Falls, swallowing entire villages in weeks. Anyone who survived would have told this story for generations, until it became legend. Myth number 5, warrior women who fought like men. Ancient Greek writers described fierce female fighters, skilled riders, deadly archers, dismissed for centuries as pure fantasy. Then archaeologists opened ancient burial mounds in the grasslands of Russia and Kazakhstan. Skeletons of women, buried with bows, buried with arrows, bones showing injuries from real combat. The Amazons weren't invented, they were remembered. Myth number 4, a city swallowed by the sea. An advanced civilization wiped out in a single day, sunk beneath the ocean forever. For centuries, considered a fictional warning tale. But scientists studying an island in the Mediterranean found something massive. Evidence of one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history, powerful enough to collapse an entire island into the sea, destroying an advanced Bronze Age civilization almost instantly. Not Atlantis exactly, but close enough to explain where the story came from. Myth number 3, fire-breathing dragons. Ancient cultures across the world describe the same creature. Enormous, scaled, bone-crushing jaws, guarding treasure in the mountains. For centuries, pure imagination. But in parts of China and Central Asia, ancient people kept digging up strange bones. Massive, reptilian, unlike any living animal they'd ever seen. They didn't know what dinosaurs were, so they gave the bones a name that made sense. Dragons. Myth number 2, sailors lured to their death by singing women in the sea. Ancient sailors swore they heard voices calling from the water. Beautiful, hypnotic, impossible to ignore. Some ships steered straight into rocks trying to reach them. For centuries considered a sailor's superstition, But marine biologists point to a very real explanation. Large sea mammals, like manatees and dugongs, seen from a distance, half submerged, in dim light, after months at sea, combined with eerie, moaning vocal calls that travel strangely across water to exhausted, isolated sailors. It was enough to sound almost human. And finally, myth number 1. Beasts that were half man, half wolf. Stories of ordinary people transforming under a full moon, growing fur, growing claws, losing all control. For centuries, purely superstition. But doctors eventually identified a group of rare genetic conditions. Some cause excessive hair growth across the entire face and body. Others cause extreme sensitivity to sunlight, forcing people to hide indoors during the day, only venturing out at night. In eras with no medical explanation, a person suffering from these conditions wouldn't have been diagnosed. They would have been feared, whispered about, turned into legend. So here's the pattern hiding behind all 10 of these stories. None of them started as lies. They started as people trying to explain something they didn't understand. A fossil became a monster. A disease became a curse. A disaster became the wrath of a god. Myths weren't meant to fool us. They were ancient humanity's way of remembering, passed down by voice, generation after generation, because writing didn't exist yet. Details blurred over time. Monsters were added for drama. But underneath almost every legend, there's often a grain of something real. So the next time someone tells you an old story sounds too strange to be true, don't be so sure. Because history has already proven, again and again, that the line between myth and memory is a lot thinner than we think.